Now, for your graduation today, I chose the topic music therapy, not based on my expertise, but because I love music and I've always been impressed with the positive impact it had on so many people. Now, in researching the topic, I learned that music therapy is actually a treatment, a designated treatment program, the use of music and musical elements by an accredited music therapist, and to restore health and maintain it. And it's been very effective in a number of diseases or situations that are listed there, from people with autism, Alzheimer's, depression, and the data do support that. But I know that you know I am not a music therapist. So I changed my title. I am now therapeutic music. And it generates a pleasurable experience for the people listening to the music and the people generating the music. Now, I'm a much better listener than generator. And probably many folks are like myself. But I know how it makes me feel. And I've always said music refreshes my soul because it makes me feel better, improves my mood, and lifts my spirits. And on occasion, I'll get chicken skin or chills and do a little toe tapping because music has that effect. But I often wondered, well, what about music that causes that to happen? Well, in studying more about it, music is very old and very common. It has antiquity and ubiquity. It's part of every known human culture since written records. It's pervasive. Nearly 40,000 years ago, the humans started making instruments, and you've seen them, the drums, made from animal skins and a hollow log or anything that they could strap it across. That's how drums first started. You've seen gourds with seeds in them. All kinds of instruments they made from natural products. So it's everywhere, and there's a reason why it's been around for so long. And it's also healthy. Earlier Plato said, music is a moral law. It gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and charm and gaiety to life and to everything. That's a very impactful statement, I think. And we've heard about music use in this mini-med school before. We had Dr. Elizabeth Christensen, and she uses both Eastern and Western medicines called integrative, holistic medicine. And she uses harp music for therapy. And she played for us, and I know we all left the room feeling much, much better. Another example of a recent one is if you've seen the movie Alive Inside. Anybody seen that movie? Yeah. It's really a fascinating story. It was a mission of Dan Cohen. And he noticed that when he played music to people in assisted living who were particularly lethargic or not responsive, not talking, and he played music to them with an iPod that was from their era, they really came to life. And that's coming alive. And in the movie, you can see people who are just sitting there slumped in chairs, and they put in the iPod, and all of a sudden, they're active, they're moving, they're talking. And it's a very moving and impressive situation to see. And his goal is to get an iPod for everyone in assisted living throughout the U.S. It's a very worthy goal. Well, what about music and what happens to us? Well, they've done research studies, particularly on surgical patients, because those of us that have ever had that, we're kind of tense when we go in for that occasion. And they found a lot of good aspects of music, and they paid soothing music, not real lively one. It reduces anxiety in general and before surgery. It does reduce blood pressure. And you don't want to have high blood pressure during surgery. It lessens the perception and increases the tolerance of pain, because there's always some of that in anything we have. It boosts the immune system, and that's through natural killer cells. It decreases stress hormone levels, and we're all blessed with too much of those, and so lowering them is important. It distracts from the negative situations. Remember when Larry Burgess told us about listening to music instead of listening to the ringing in your ears? It was much better. And it aids sleep. And so these are all good outcomes that they did research and obtained this information. And it actually, this list has a lot in common with laughter and the impact it has on your body. So they're very similar in a lot of ways. Now, why does that happen? Well, it's your brain, okay? This is what's happening in your brain. It increases activity in the region of the brain associated with anticipating rewards. And I like what Lucy Maud Montgomery said. She's a Canadian author who wrote Anne of Green Gables. Have you read that? Yeah, that's a very common book we read in school. And she said, looking forward to things is half the pleasure of them. It's often more of the pleasure of them than the actual occurrence. So it really does. The anticipation award, like Christmas or whatever holiday you're celebrating, your vacation, you plan. And the planning is often a big part of the pleasure. It lowers cortisol, and Amy mentioned this as well. That is the major stress hormone. And we really do need to lower that. It does increase dopamine, and this is a pleasure-mediating transmitter. And this was the one that is decreased in Parkinson's. And they take L-Dopa to replace that because dopamine is very important. It stimulates oxytocin, the love hormone. This is the love hormone. It helps us bond with and trust others and also makes us more generous and trustworthy. And so this is an important hormone as well. And this all led to music being described as a potent, pleasurable stimulus. Their increased activity in pleasure centers in the brain, those are the same centers that get stimulated when you eat chocolate or have sex or both. Maybe. And this is often cited as the reason Americans spend more money on music than they do on prescription drugs. So music does have an impact on your brain. It's getting stimulated. And what your brain really looks like, this is a brain on music. All these different areas of your brain are being stimulated, and you're having all these outcomes because of it. It's not just a mental thought. It is actually your brain changing. And it creates a high. And Jimi Hendrix said, music is a safe kind of high. So we can all, there's no drugs involved, anything else, just music. It is a safe high. Now, what about this is about the listeners, so to speak, but what about the participants in music? Well, there are a lot of benefits, and they particularly studied this in seniors because they think it's really important. The sense of physical and mental well-being. So your stress goes down, your pain and medication usage goes down because you feel good. Remember, those feel-good chemicals are helping you. Slowing of age-related cognitive decline. You're learning, you're active, you're social, all these things. Pleasure and enjoyment. There goes the love hormone. Pride and a sense of accomplishment in learning new skills. And it does take that. Social connections. Many times you're doing it with other folks. Now, personally, I play the Native American flute. I do it by myself at my husband's suggestion. He thinks it would drive people away. But it actually gives me a creative self-expression. The next one, I can play whatever I want. I don't ever remember it because it's not a real song, but it gives me pleasure. And that, to participate in that way by myself. It gives you a construction of identity at a time when your identity may be in flux. And many of you may remember that I said a frequent question that I received when I stepped down as chancellor was, well, how do you feel about going from being somebody to being nobody? That is flux. And we all go through it. So it's really impressive what happens. And why is it so beneficial? Well, they've studied the brains of musicians, and their brains are more symmetrical. And what I mean by that is their usage. They're using both sides of their brain more than other people, We tend to be a little more left or right, although we even out more as we age. But musicians, wow, can they do it? Areas of the brains that are larger in musicians: motor control, they have to move; auditory processing, how they hear sounds and process that; and spatial coordination. They're larger. They have bigger ones. Bigger is good in this case. They also have a larger corpus callosum, which I'm sure everybody was curious about. That is a part of the brain that connects the two hemispheres, and theirs is larger. And so that means there's more connections, and that's why one of the reasons they can go back and forth more and use both sides of their brains. So in conclusion of that, musicians have better brains. And every musician would tell you this. So, and Emma Fitzgerald, a wonderful singer, she said the only thing better than singing is more singing. Okay? So singing and being active, all these positive outcomes of enjoying song, enjoying dance, that can be yours. And when I was thinking about today, I wanted to make a special gift to this class. The first group that came to mind were the Silver Foxes, because they're a seniors group, and they sing for the joy of singing, and they love to share it. So please welcome the Silver Foxes.
Well, as you can see, we are all in what we consider our golden years, and it's something or the other. I can tell you, for me at least, it just keeps getting better and better. We're really glad to be here today, and like Virginia said, our purpose is to share our joy of life and friendship through song and dance, and we hope to share and bring you into that. So while we're doing this today, we invite a lot of audience participation. Become part of the Silver Foxes. My name is Dave.
I'm Rosemary. I'm Susan.
I'm Peter.
I'm Shirley.
I'm Natalie.
I'm Carolyn.
Hi, I'm BB.
I'm Tony.
I'm Betsy.
Aloha, I'm Annie.
And we are the Silver Foxes.
We are the Silver Foxes.
It's too loud.
We love to make you smile.
Let us do a few songs, only just for you songs.
Very versatile.
And if you're real good,